Hey guys, so welcome to day 14, the final day of this 14-day challenge series. So if you've been with me from day one, that's seriously well done. Most people never make it this far with anything they start, as we all know. So if you're just jumping in, then just keep going. I have the whole series in a playlist on the channel, so just feel free to go back and follow along with that if you'd like. And again, you can join the Skool group that I'm hosting this challenge in. It's free for now, so that you don't need to pay anything to get in and jump in with us. But today, what I'm going to be talking about is what happens next after the 14-day challenge. So because this was never meant to just be like some 14-day stunt and then you just go back to your like normal life. The whole point was to test drive a different way of living to start building those new habits. So um, here's a couple things that we're going to cover today. So why I'm keeping all the 5 daily tasks after the challenge, and then how strict you need to be in the long term when you're living in this way, and how to keep going after day 14. So let's get into it. Um, let's start with what doesn't go away. So like I said, we're going to be keeping everything. That's just super easy. In fact, I put together this task list for this challenge specifically because these are things that anyone can stick to long term. I know it might not feel like that's the case, but it definitely is. It's just something that you got to stick to, and like you got to build the habits of it, and then it becomes like second nature. Like for me personally, I've been doing these tasks for a long time, so I don't even really need to personally think about it. Like my power list has developed over time, so I don't need to have some of these specific things on there anymore. I have other things that are pushing my life forward because I've already went through the hard part of actually making these things habit. So um, don't feel like you're like weird because it feels hard, because it's going to be hard if this isn't something that you've been doing in the past. So um, but that doesn't mean that you don't miss a task or anything from time to time. Like we're human, we're not perfect. So we're not looking for a perfect score here for the course of the challenge, just because we're trying to get these habits to stick. So that's like the purpose of the challenge, to make it so you're strict to it and you're sticking to it. So then that way we get those habits to start to form. But when you're just living by this, it's okay to miss something from the task list every now and again. Like if you've been following along with me, like if you go out to dinner and stuff like that, like you don't have to strictly stick to your meal plan. Like if you've been good 80% of the time, then you have 20% that you can play with. So you can go out to a restaurant and you can have the fries, or you can have the dessert, or anything like that. So don't feel like you have to stick exactly strict to this. It's just presented that way in the beginning for the challenge, just to get you a sprint into building these habits. So these are just things that if you stick to, you're going to get results over the long term. And so I just run them whether I'm doing the challenge or not. And then this is one thing that I always keep coming back to, is just the idea of low insulin style of eating. So if you've been following along with me, I've been talking about controlling carbs, prioritizing protein, not fearing real food fats, fasting frequently, stuff like that. The movement piece. And so it doesn't always have to be workouts or anything, but I just make a conscious effort of trying to do some sort of movement in my life, whether it's just like going for a walk or something like that. And like if you're just starting out and you haven't been doing much movement, then maybe all you're doing each day is just going for a walk. And then don't think like, oh, this isn't doing that much. It's doing a lot, because if you're not used to moving your body or anything, and then you're going out for a walk every day, that's massive. And then you can always build up as your tolerance gets better as you do more movement in your day. So don't feel um, like where you're starting is bad or anything like that, because we all got to start somewhere. So just as long as you're making an effort to move your body each day, then that's all you need to be doing. So, and then the sleep is super important. And so you want to prioritize your sleep, right? So you want to make sure to protect your bedtime and your wake time as much as you realistically can, because then that's just going to set yourself up for the whole day if you're well rested. And then, like I said, the reason why I put this here is so we can set our circadian rhythm, which is our body's internal clock, because that's just going to put us in a better spot for everything, like energy levels, our mood, all that kind of stuff. So you definitely want to continue on making sure that you're prioritizing your sleep and you're getting a proper sleep. and then the hydration and electrolyte piece. And again, if you've been following along, and even if you look at your daily life before you started to do something like this challenge, or even becoming aware of this, you probably noticed you weren't drinking enough water during your day. Because I know for me, if um, before I was like really conscious of it myself, and some days, like if I'm just lost in my own thing, I'm focused on things. Sometimes I lose sight of how much water I'm drinking. So that's why I always have a water bottle right next to me, just so I always have it in my mind. And it's like, okay, I should be sipping some water, because I do notice a difference between when I let that kind of habit slack and I'm not drinking the amount of water that I should be, compared to when I am on point with it, right? Because like it does make a big difference. And then electrolytes, it's not as important later on once your body gets fat adapted to the lower carb way of eating. It's still important, of course, but it's not as important, because when your body's just getting adapted, you're just starting to eat low carb, then that's where your body starts dumping water and extra salt. So then you want to kind of make up for that with adding more electrolytes in, just so you then there's something called the keto flu. And if you're making sure your hydration's on point and you're getting enough electrolytes, then you'll potentially be able to bypass that the keto flu with all those symptoms. So that's why it's super important there. And then and you want to keep some form of the power list. Like the way I structured this whole challenge is this around the 5 critical things that I need to be doing each day to either be pushing my health forward or my life forward in some way. So these aren't just like some sort of challenge hacks or anything like that. This is just how I live my life now. It's become who I am. It's like I am a person who has a power list that I put critical tasks that I need to get done every single day, and then I execute on them. So, and I just want you to start thinking the same way. Like, which habits from these 14 days already feel like, okay, this is just now what I do, right? Because then if you are at that stage, then you can start replacing uh, those different powerless tasks with something else that's going to move your life forward. And if you're still not, like, don't worry about that too, because like sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build some habits. So you just want to be paying attention to what's your new normal, because then you don't want to keep something on a power list that you're just doing anyways, right? Because as you get it and it's habitual, then you don't need to think about it. So you can just start adding different things. And so some parts of this were on challenge mode. So we definitely went like we're a little bit tighter and stuff, like sticking to the power list without fail type of thing. But like in in everyday life, sometimes you'll get to a point where like you might need to miss something for whatever reason, because things happen in life. We get thrown curveballs all the time. So some of the things that I do tighten up for a sprint like this, for a challenge, but it's you don't need to run them super strict the whole all year round, right? Like you want to stay as close as you can, but you don't need to do it like super strict. So some of the things that I kind of don't I'm not as intense about are things like I'm not really tracking everything, because when you get start eating this in this way, like if you've been following me along, usually my macros always line up, and all I'm doing is just focusing on keeping my carb under the certain um, amount each day, and then everything else seems to fall in line. I'm getting enough protein, I'm getting the calories that I need for the day, I'm getting enough fats, all that kind of stuff. And like you'll get to a point like where you're not going to need to be tracking as intensively. Like in the beginning, it's good because then you get an idea of like what foods give you what, and then eventually it's just like, okay, I don't need to do any of this tracking. I just know what I need to eat on a daily basis. And like for me, I've just fell back on things that I normally eat and I like. So it's just super easy. I just make the things I like and eat until I'm full, and that's all I need to be. Uh, that's all I need to worry about. So like the only things I really do is like maybe I'll do a spot check and just kind of see where my diet is, or if I see something that's kind of off, like whether it's with my energy, whether it's with uh, anything like that, then I'll go back and I'll start tracking to see if I can pinpoint things. But it's not something that you need to be doing like crazy all the time, because I mean I'm not the type of person who just wants to track my food all the time, right? It is a little bit time intensive. It's not like crazy or anything, but it's something that I just rather not do if I don't have to. And it turns out that I don't really have to all the time. And then another thing I want to talk about is just the level of food cleanliness. So basically, what I mean by this is just how strict that you're sticking to your parameters of what you're eating. So in these 14 days, you probably tighten things up a bit just because there was a no miss rule for the challenge. But maybe in your everyday life, like I mentioned before, as you go out to dinner and you've been sticking to your diet for the 80%, and then now you got that 20% where you're like, okay, maybe I will get the fries, or maybe I will enjoy the dessert. It's a friend's birthday. I'll have a slice of cake today. And then you don't have to feel guilty or anything about it because you're doing what you need to do with the 80%. And then you can like give way a little bit with that extra 20%. So usually I'll allow a little bit more flexibility in my like real everyday life opposed to doing a challenge like this. But at the same time, too, is like when I do give in and I do have that piece of cake or I do have something that I don't normally eat when I'm like trying to stick on my diet plan, I feel so much more terrible. So it just kind of reminds me, and I'm thinking like, okay, so this is why I don't really eat this way anymore, right? So you might experience that as well, and then you'll just over time you just get less and less the need to start eating those foods and stuff, right? Because I don't really get too much need to eat those foods. Like obviously the odd time I'll see like a cinnamon bun or something like that, and I'll be like, oh, that would be deadly right now, right? And sometimes I have to say, okay, no, it's not fitting my goals right now. Or it could be like, okay, I've been really good. Yeah, I can have a treat because that's the thing, right? You want it to stay something where it's a treat. It's not just part of your diet where you have it every single day because then it's not a treat, right? It's just part of the diet. So there's that. And then the principle is just use the challenge mode to like build skills and awareness and then dial it back to something that you actually live with for like months and years. So even if after this challenge you only choose to stick with one thing for now because it's just too overwhelming to stick to everything, that's still a win because it's just one thing that you're doing for your health that you didn't normally do before. So like don't feel like, oh, okay, I can only do one thing, I better just not do anything, right? Because I know a lot of us do that and I've done that in the past too. So I'm not sitting on a high horse, kind of looking down at people with this, but it's something that I went through as well myself. Is like if I couldn't do it perfectly, then I just wouldn't do it all. Which we can't be thinking like that because if you're doing one thing good for your health that you weren't doing before, that's going to be a win for you. So you basically just need to start asking yourself, like, so which parts felt helpful but too intense to run 365 days a year, and then you can just go ahead and modify it slightly to be things that you can stick to long term. And like, if you need to build up to doing more over time, that's definitely an option that you can do as well. So it's not this stuff isn't going to be easy in the beginning, especially like I mentioned before earlier on. But you need some time to adapt to this kind of stuff. So you don't just want to remove everything just because it was uncomfortable. In fact, like it being uncomfortable is a sign that you should be continuing with it because like change is just uncomfortable, right? And when you're pushing outside your normal level of comfort, that means you're stretching yourself. You're going outside your regular, right? So that's why, because like it took you a long time to get into the habits you have now. It's going to take you some time to build better habits to get out of where you're at now to even want to do a challenge like this in the first place. And then so the important part is just turning this into your own system. And the good news is if you've been following along with the challenge, you've already been doing the system. So there's not much thinking needed on your part, just because you have the 5 tasks that will better your health that you just need to repeat each day. And so these are just habits that you can keep even when you're busy, when you're stressful and stuff. And like I said, in the beginning, it'll be a little bit harder, but as you do it more and more, you'll be able to push through and not even have it phase you, right? So there's no need to reinvent the wheel here or anything. I made sure to include all the tasks that you'll need to get better health in this challenge. And then the next step is to just gradually increase or like tweak things that will fit your schedule. And then replacing ones that become habits later on. So, and then, for example, like you might need, maybe you started the challenge with just doing a 20-minute walk to get your movement in each day. So maybe now you'll try adding 5 minutes to that walk, or maybe you'll incorporate a different form of exercise. Like maybe you'll get into the gym and you'll start lifting weights, or maybe you'll uh, do some other stuff. You'll go on the treadmill and do a jog or something like that instead of a walk. Just whatever makes sense for you, right? And so another thing is maybe you're hitting your water target every day and you don't need to be thinking about it, it's not relevant to be on your list because it's like, okay, I've been hitting my water target without even having it be a problem. Then maybe you switch that out for something. Like you could add another task to your power list that will move your life forward. Like maybe it's a business or work task, or something like that. Or maybe it's like building relationships kind of task. Like maybe you want to schedule some time with your wife and then where you spend time with her or go out for a date night, or maybe you spend time with your kids, reading to them or doing homework or something like that. But it's a critical task that you need to do that makes your life better. And so it's just anything that you can do that would move the needle forward in your life. So just don't sleep on how valuable the powerless task is. And that's the reason why I built this challenge around it, because it's so powerful to be able to have a powerless like this and get some momentum in your life. So I'm going to go and quickly just go over my last day, my 14th day. So that was yesterday of my critical tasks for this challenge. So we're going to start with the meal. So my meals were like pretty standard. I mean, I had some chicken wings in the morning. I ended up seeing some stuff that were marinating in the sauce, some like buffalo masala sauce. So it was pretty deadly. Had a little bit of zing to it. So that was good. And then I had a steak for dinner. And like as you can see here, all I'm doing is just eating till I'm full, and I'm consistently getting over 2,200 calories per day. I'm getting more than enough protein. I'm under my carb count, which that's the only thing that I'm focusing on for this. And then I've got a good solid amount of fat in there too. And then the other tasks were the hydration. So for me, that's 3 liters and electrolytes. My bedtime is 9 p.m. and my wake time is 4:30. Hit that. My movement yesterday was an 8 kilometer easy run. I got that hammered out first thing in the morning. And then the accountability piece, posting to my check-in thread in the Skool group. So again, if you want to do a challenge like this and be around other people doing it too, the Skool group's there for you. And like I said, it's free for now. So feel free to jump in and you don't have to make any sort of investment other than your time. But it's there to help you. I want it to be a resource to help people get into this type of stuff. But zooming out, this challenge was about helping you prove to yourself that you can change your habits and that your body does respond when you start to lower insulin, and then you feel better when you treat this like a lifestyle, not like some sort of punishment or something like that. So if this series helped you, I'd appreciate it if you liked and like this video and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be doing more stuff like this. This was just a 14-day series. I'll have other videos and stuff and about lots of the topics that I've went through here during this challenge. But also feel free to share this with other people who you think might need it. Always happy to help, always happy to share if it was valuable. And then finally, I'd love to hear from you. So if you're going through this challenge, or you're going to be keeping the power list after this challenge, I just want to hear it. Drop it in the comments. Maybe this might be exactly what another person needs to see. They see your comment and they're like, okay, if another human being can do this, then I can do it as well. And I know I've done that a lot too. Like I've seen other people accomplish some amazing things, and it's got me thinking like, okay, this other person is just a human like me. So that means I can do something great too, right? So just drop that in the comments. And then that's pretty much it that I got for this 14-day challenge series. And so if you've been following along up until now, I'm super proud of you for sticking this out. But this isn't the end. This is just a new starting point. So that's all I got. And I will see you on the next